I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call to order.
Thank you all for coming. First up are the announcements. First announcement I have was regarding the street lights. As we all know, we've been working with the city for several months now to have them maintain them again like they have for the past 13 years until recently. We've met with the city manager, and he's going to present a plan to the city council this month, I believe on the 20th, for the city to again maintain the street lights. So we are close to the end of that project where the city will again maintain those street lights in the community at no additional cost to the association. Next is a bistro update. So we had 18 different interested parties to become the new bistro operator. Of those 18 that we had sent the request for proposal, 6 came back with a proposal. There was an ad hoc committee that worked tirelessly for the last week and has recommended one vendor to the board. The board has accepted that provisionally because we still need to go back to that one vendor and iron out the details of a contract. As such, I can't announce at this point who that one vendor is, but I hope to next week. So we will be talking with them as soon as we're done with this meeting and get those details ironed out and have the new bistro operator in here shortly. The one operator that I agree. The one operator that was chosen had a 2 to 3 week timetable after they were chosen to move in. So we're close. Believe me, we're close. And then the last announcement was regarding slowdown. Is my monthly. Please remember that the speed limit is 30 miles per hour on Four Seasons Circle, 25 on all other streets, and 15 in the lodge parking lot. Also, the Breckenridge gate will be down. The builder will be doing some construction on that, as it is a construction gate, so their vehicles are going to be entering in the community through the Potrero gate, so please be aware of that. And again, it's still the construction gate, so all of us homeowners and management people and everybody else shouldn't be using that gate because it's supposed to be only for construction. With that, we'll move to homeowner input. As a reminder, homeowner input is limited to 3 minutes per homeowner, and only one request to speak form may be submitted per homeowner. There'll be no sharing or passing of time to another person. Homeowner input may be held for a maximum period of 30 minutes before the board meeting begins to allow the board to proceed with the business portion of the meeting. The business portion of the meeting is limited to board participation only. Residents are welcome and encouraged to stay for the full meeting to witness the business of the corporation taking place by your governing agents. And also, as a reminder, during the open forum portion, members may ask questions, but the board's ability to answer them is limited by state law. As provided in Civil Code, boards may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed, and they may also ask a question for clarification. But again, it's not a back and forth, and I know that sometimes gets lost in things, and so I just wanted to have that. So with that, we'll go to our first speaker, which is Yvonne Aguilera.
My name is Yvonne Aguilera. I live at 121 Thistle Creek. I'm presenting the following for your consideration. I, for one, appreciate your time and sacrifice in volunteering to serve on this board for the benefit of your fellow residents. I know it's not always an easy job. However, in regards to our guest policy, that job has been made easy for you, with the majority of residents repeatedly stating in your presence and on social media that the current guest policy be maintained. I have seen and heard disturbing incidents due to our rules not being enforced. It seems that long-standing guests now feel entitled to our amenities. An example is one, a new guard was chastised by a veteran guard for trying to enforce our rules at the gate due to the guest being a frequent visitor. The new guard was told by the veteran guard, "This is the way we've been doing it for years. Don't give the non-residents a hard time. Let them pass." Number 2, an elderly woman resident arrived to participate in the card game. The majority of attendees were non-residents. Upon her request to participate, she was verbally attacked and sent away in tears. This woman, out of fear, has stated she will not return. She has been denied her right to participate and denied of the benefit which her HOA dues should have afforded her, and this by non-paying, non-resident guests. Third, a First Service staff member stated what a shame it was that we residents were having to pay via our dues for damage and messes incurred by guests who have no vested interest in our community. 4, non-resident guests are sporting four-season jackets and shirts while foregoing HOA dues and responsibilities. I moved here thinking it would be a safe and private community. Living in Four Seasons is a privilege we pay for. We must adhere to our community rules for the safety and harmony of all its residents. Our board has been entrusted in enforcing these rules. Please show all guests that our board fights to enforce our current rules for the benefit of the community that voted you in. Keep the current guest policy in place, but more importantly, arduously enforce it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Larry Wharton.
My name is Larry Workman. I live at 1529 Tavis Hall. At the past couple of meetings, I addressed the problem of non-resident guests who have habitually attending our activities, which some of our board of directors have been defending. However, in discussing the situation with numerous residents, many of whom are members of these activities, it became evident that the bigger problem is the fact that the rules currently by the community guidelines are being neglected by the board of directors and the subordinate management team. As we all realize, First Service is an employee and steered by the board of directors. There have been many documented situations where substantial numbers of non-residents guests have repeatedly attended activities within our community without challenge from the gate attendant, nor are they signed in and accompanied by their host resident while in our community. Once within the community, they are allowed to travel freely through the lodge, courts, and other areas. It is a well-known fact that poker players meet outside the building to make their buy-in and settle up outside after they finish playing. More than one person has told me that they have given up playing ping pong because there are so many non-resident Sun Lakes residents playing in the court's facilities. Multiple times I've entered the courts in the Summit without using a fob and not been challenged, often with an attendant that is not familiar with me or is not present at all. More than once has the vendor showed up at my door with no notification when I have forgotten to notify the gate. Then there is the dance vendor who suggests to her off-site class to attend her classes at Four Seasons. The passive attitude of our board of directors and the management team of not wanting to confront these violations of our guidelines are foremost in providing what we expected when we bought into Four Seasons. The incorporation of new rules is destroying the confidence this community has placed in the board of directors and its ability to manage First Service. Until the board of directors and First Service assume their obligation to the residents, any changes to the infamous matrix or addition of ROM-type groups is futile and will not be obeyed by those who currently disregard or skate around our current guidelines.
Our next speaker is Kathy Craven.
Hi, I'm Kathy Craven, and I'm here to talk about our neighborhood watch meeting next week. As you know, we have a 10 o'clock meeting on the second Wednesday of the month? 14th. And we're also this month starting with an evening meeting for those of you who can't attend at 10 o'clock in the morning, which will be at 6 o'clock in the RCN. This is the first of what we're hoping to have many next year in the evening to accommodate all of our residents. Next year, we're going to look at possibly having 4 in addition to our National Night Out. This year, we have them scheduled in August and October to come in at 6 o'clock in the RCM. So I hope to see you all there. This month, we're going to be talking about fire safety. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gloria Johnson.
Gloria Johnson, 1510 Baxter Woods. I just want to address what Eric said at the last meeting and again this morning at this meeting, addressing California Code 4930. And it says there are exceptions. Directors, managers, and other associations agents are permitted to briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by any person speaking at a meeting. Directors are permitted to ask questions, make brief announcements, or bring reports to the director's own activities, whether in response to questions posed by an attending member and the director's own initiatives. And members can discuss anything in open forum, but not the board per Civil Code 4930. But a director can briefly answer a statement or question. And I think this is what's really lacking. When we speak up here and ask a question, and examples of questions that could have and maybe should have been answered was at our last open meeting, or the special meeting. There was a question, financial impact study, has that been done regarding the non-residents? Who started all of this? What is the perceived benefit to our community by letting non-resident people come into this community? So these are questions that were posed by speakers, but were totally ignored and were not answered by the board. And they could have and certainly should have been answered. This was a special meeting for that purpose. And all of the board members, you never answer any questions, and you are allowed to answer questions. It's not a dialogue where we can have a back and forth, but you can answer simple questions. And if you're unable to answer them at the particular meeting because you don't know or you have to do some research, you should certainly at least acknowledge the speaker and say, okay, this is what it is, we cannot answer it this time, but we will get back to this question and answer it at the next open session meeting. And I think this is really what is lacking from this board. There is very, very little communication to an open session like this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bill Guy.
As was said, my name is Bill Guy. After hearing 2 or 3 people continuing up here, I'd like to get some of the facts straight. The existing guest house policy that exists is 6 people per resident. That's the existing policy. I do believe, and I have no problem with it, it's what we should have. It's been available here for 14 years, and it actually came from Sun Lakes, where they got the ideas for our guest policy. People always said, well, Sun Lakes don't allow anybody over there. That's false. There's a list of 25 people from outside their residence that come to the gate. They can come in. As I told before, I've been there, going there every Tuesday, Wednesday. You'll see this, that says Bridge Club. My name's on it. When I go to the gate, security guard checks me out. That's how they run their guest policy. I do believe, and I firmly believe, that every club should run themselves and determine how many guests should be in. The one thing that definitely should be is the priority goes first to residents. No resident should ever be turned down. I totally agree with that, and that is my philosophy. Residents should always be there. The only time residents should be disallowed is if something occurs, such as they find the residents cheating at the games or not following the standards of the club. Then the club manager, the captain, whatever you them out, residents and guests, but they should never allow a guest in if there's a resident that wants to come in. I firmly arm forward. The one gal that just came up here said something about there was a comment at the last meeting. What is the advantage of what should be allowed? I will tell you why. Some clubs may not have enough residents here to play the game properly. And sports board to allow the guests to get competitive. For instance, the Doing the Big Club, which hasn't been here for 9 months, requires 24 players to make it a good competitive game. We only have about 14 to 20 players here that live here. So we need few more players to play. That's one of the reasons that we need more residents to come in. Also, sometimes the pool club likes to have a little competition. They like to bring in other players, have a competitive game. They don't just want to sit around and play with the team. Some people like to have total community area, not just Sun Lakes, Four Seasons, but Sun Lakes, Solera, and the community of Beaumont, and the church. I know I don't mind bringing in people from those places. They're all very respectable. Sun Lakes has been operating for over 35 years. They've never had guests sue them. We've been operating for 14 years. We've never had guests sue them. My time's up. Okay, well, I will get up. But I do want you to know, some of the stuff that's been going on around here, stuff they've been saying is not true.
Our next speaker is Karen Myers.
My concerns have already been addressed.
Thank you, ma'am. And our last speaker is Sandra Butler Roberts.
Hello, I'm Sandra Butler Roberts. I wanted to speak to an item on the agenda tonight. The board is considering changing specific guidelines related to clubs, groups, and classes. And I really believe that our current guidelines all need closer attention, not just piecemeal specific ones, just to try to alleviate a certain problem. We have, my understanding is most HOAs start with a boilerplate type of guidelines that were given to us possibly by other communities, and then the intention is that we then make them our own. So we need to, I believe, examine all of our community guidelines and make sure that we, the residents now who live here, create them, and because we're the ones required to abide by them. Now, in the meantime, we really need to look at the real issue, which is enforcement of our community security. Just modifying the clubs, groups, and classes guidelines does not really address the real issue, which is how guests and visitors are checked in and monitored. Now, once our sales office is no longer functioning, we need to be prepared with a plan. We should have a plan and budget in place to make sure that all 3 of our point of entry gates are monitored. I am recommending we take a close look at keypad access. We also need to look at permanent guest access. And listening to the town hall speakers, it was evident that we need a permanent guest system. However, it needs to be more secure. There are different kinds of permanent guests, we found out. I suggest that residents can only have a permanent guest, such as caregivers, landscapers, and other services, when they let the front gate know the specific times and days they're supposed to be here. And so then the regular guests are able to enter. This would be in consideration also of residents who are on vacation and still need these service people to come, and so they're not going to obviously be able to be there to accompany them. So I'd also like to see in other cases of permanent guests, such as friends and family, as well as periodic guests, that the gate attendants, either the gate attendants contact the resident to confirm that they are home and will be accompanying the guest, or that the front desk is then notified by the gate, and they would sign in the guests, make sure they're accompanied by the resident. not just let them come in freely. Because if you're a permanent guest, you can come in with no one even knowing you are here. So then the issue of the guest needs to also have some sort of identification. There's no way currently to know who's a resident and who's a guest.
Sandra,
I'm sorry?
time's up.
Never mind.
There's no other speakers, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to make a single motion to approve all included items. If for a particular reason an item needs to be discussed or pulled from the consent calendar, then a call to remove that item should be made by a board member. In the consent calendar are the minutes from July 8th, July 11th, and July 19th. Bond releases for a surety bond, a street reserve, and 2 street reserve bonds. Financial report with a CD investment plan approved by the Finance Committee or recommended by the Finance Committee. Also 3 liens for account 6310-1401-01 in the amount of $1,173. Account number 6310-113201 in the amount of $2,032.90. And account 6310-007605 in the amount of $1,280. A Hail Trails update and a memorial service on the 14th of August.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is a report on the executive sessions between unions. There was an executive session held on June 28th to review the Allen Universal Pool Guard contract for the remainder of the summer, and also an executive session meeting held today, which covered delinquencies, violation hearings, which were 2 contracts, which we discussed earlier weeks ago, legal issues and personnel issues. We'll move on to our committee reports. First is the Ad Hoc Power Out Committee.
This is the most important committee we had so far. If you don't know why we're doing it, because Edison says they may shut off the power if there's a problem. So the committee's going to look at problems we may have. We can use your help in finding these issues or problems that may occur that we don't recognize ourselves, that may affect the association or the residents individually. So feel free to email us. We have an email address. Did we do anything with it? It was in the morning report.
In the daily report today.
In the daily report, it's in there. So please feel free to email. Any questions? Thanks.
Next is our Architectural Committee. Steve?
The numbers are there, and we may have some interest with the board, but the rest of us, who cares? We're rolling along. The Architectural Committee functions very well. We think we're doing a good job. The homeowners agree we don't have issues, we don't have problems that pop up. The problem that we are encountering right now is that some of our members have been with us for a long time. Neil Edelman resigned the other day. He says he's been here 2 years. Says he wants to find something else to do that's a little more fun and a little different. We have another member who is going to resign at some point in the near future. Same thing. Says she's just ready to do something different. So we're looking for a couple of members. What we're looking for is somebody who's willing to be reasonable, somebody who's willing to look at complex information and make a reasoned decision. We meet the first and the third Wednesday at 8:30 in the RCN, and we'd love to see you. If you're not sure you think this might be a good fit for you, come on your way, see what we're doing, let's talk about it. Thank you.
Next is Communications. Gloria.
Hi, I am Marie Larson, and I am chairperson of the Communications Board. We currently have 15 members, and So we're not looking for new participants at this time. Mary Lou Diaz has resigned. We will miss her. She did some good work with us while she was there. I had one cataract removed and I can't see anything. Okay, in recognition of their roles in 9/11, we are publishing an article in September honoring residents who have been first responders. We're also working on an article explaining board of director structure, mandates, purpose, and comparing and contrasting with open and other meetings. Len has written a 3-part article about the Conservancy, which will be published over 3 consecutive months, beginning in September. And we are continuing to compile a list of residents for possible interviews and articles chronicling their interesting careers and lives. And we've begun writing and publishing some of these articles. So if you think you have something interesting to share, or you know somebody who's got something interesting to share, let us know. We'd be really interested in getting a name and interview. I think there's a lot of fascinating, all of us are fascinated. There's some of us whose lives might be more interesting than others to write about. And the famous work on Year in Review, which I don't think anybody knows about but a few of us, which is going to be chronicling what's gone on in 4 seasons, basically from the beginning through the end of this year, should be ready and available by December. We have 2 meetings a month. Our planning meeting is at 10 a.m. on the first Wednesday of every month, and our proving meeting is at 10 a.m. on the 10th of each month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori. Next is community planning transition.
Hi, I'm Colin Taylor. I chair Community Planning and Transition. We finally heard from the gas company and didn't get the answer that we wanted on the dog park. They disapproved the use of the utility easement. We are looking at evaluating other potential sites. We're working with the ad hoc dog group, and there are a number of sites that look quite interesting, that we will not be dependent on an outside body for their approval. We're working on increasing the capacity of the amphitheatre by about 100 seats. We're planning a test show in the courtyard out here in October to get the public response to the use of that area for entertainment. We're continuing to work on the annual and master plans and the transition study, which is still scheduled for the end of this year. And we're developing a list of underutilized areas with possible uses and the restrictions and limitations that would apply to each area. We're still working solar thermal and solar electric with various solar companies, and developing plans for digitization of all our construction drawings. Thank you.
Next is emergency preparedness. Mike.
Good afternoon, everyone. We've been busy trying to get a program together with Neighborhood Watch, and because of conflicts with trying to get the room, because we're trying to build it up. Donna's idea was to try to get us together with EPC, Together Neighborhood Watch, to have a joint program, and we're going to try to pull out CERT people also, anybody that's CERT trained in here. And what we've done is it's been switched from the 14th of August to the 11th of September, which is, we all know what that is, the anniversary of the tragedy in New York. Anyway, the second thing we're doing is at Len's request, I've been in contact with a lady that does stop the bleed training. Marty, I didn't tell you, but I don't know, I wasn't under lock and key, but I just decided to let you know as soon as, I think she might need a little help, but we haven't decided on getting the flyers together to try to get it interesting like Anita does when she does the AED training. And it'll be out there in the lodge. Ellie will have it ready for me probably end of today, earlier tomorrow at the latest. And right now, anyone that's got any suggestions or any problems that they think happen could affect you during a high-wind event, let us know. I'm willing to submit it to Randy for his scrutiny. And also, we're always looking for new board members. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks to those facilities. Bruce?
Good afternoon. Facilities Committee has a proposal to repair the Turo Gatehouse. The gatehouse is in need of repairs, including the drywall, flooring, paint, and cabinetry. It has deteriorated to a non-acceptable condition at this time. A planter drainage issue was caused the damage to the drywall. The committee is recommending absolute construction to repair the drywall, paint the interior walls, install new cabinets, countertops, and install the new flooring and the new cove base. The cost is $80,185 for this reserve item. We also have a proposal to repair the Sun Spa. The spa plaster has deteriorated, the coping is shipping. The plaster is due to mechanical issues. They have been corrected. We are recommending the full position to install the new white plaster, new tile on the water line, and new coping. Also, that would include debris removal and spa startup, 1-year warranty. Cost $13,050. This is also a reserve item. Facility committee meets on the second Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m. in the RCN building. And we do have a position or two open for residents interested in serving our community. Thank you.
Money, not a big interest. No question. We're doing good. The numbers up there reflect that. That's the mid-year, year-to-date. And as you can see, our income is more than we projected at 105%. And looking at our expenses, we're at 90% of the budget, which is very good at this time. So we're doing a good job managing it. We've had some reasons why it's like that, but that's good solid news for all of us in pay HOA dues. The other thing is our default up there is remaining very constant. We have less than 18 homes in a default mode of not paying their dues out of 1,830 right now, 1,840. That's very good. The reserve study is just about completed, and we've mentioned it in the past. Our real effort this year was to make sure that we totally got everything and we really know the cost and longevity of our products. We are in the process in August of meeting with all the committee heads to look at what they see as projected expenses next year, whether it be a capital reserve item that needs replacement or a new item that they see as needed. This is something we instituted about 3 years ago to bring a more business approach to the way the committees work and finance works, that when we vet something out, the board's getting a pretty good solution on the recommendation. And that process really goes through and we look at it, and it has come along a long way to take out some of the emotional and good feeling about doing things. Is to, get a look at it. Hardcore is the value of that thing, that we had the money to do it, and to make a recommendation all the way through. We reviewed 12 proposals this month, and I'd just like to mention, we approved for recommendation for approval to the board, 9 of them. 3 of them we didn't, but I'd like to explain, because some people tend to think that we hold things back because we don't like it. The 3 we turned down, 2 of them were identical proposals, just with different applications of how they were to be presented. We did our analysis and said the cost of either didn't matter. They were like cost neutral. And it got down to the aesthetic decision. It was a landscape thing. So we sent it back to committee for landscape. We're not in the aesthetic business. We're in the numbers business. Numbers-wise, it didn't matter. The other proposal was we didn't think there was a bid on that to qualify for what the project was worth. And we sent it back. There was only 1 bid. We think there should have been competitive bids. Our next meeting is August 27th at 1 p.m. We're looking for a meeting for an additional member to our committee, and everybody's welcome to attend. Thank you.
Next is the landscape committee.
Yes, working with finance helps us to be better committee members as we look at our landscaping. And the big thing that we're working on, that we're developing that tree thinning project for our HOA. Initially, K-Hawk overplanted trees for sales promotion. We're now, from 2005 to 2019, those trees are now mature and causing other issues. The landscape committee goal is to maintain tree health and the beauty of our HOA landscape. Too many, full-grown now and continuing to get larger trees, tend to overtake the beauty of our landscape. When this tree thinning project is at a point to be presented to all the residents for your input, it will happen before implementation. And we have a vacancy on our landscape committee. Do submit an application in order for you to be notified of our Friday vendor walks. You too will experience the education, get exercise, and the camaraderie of your fellow homeowners as we love to walk through our landscape. We meet every third Tuesday, 1 p.m. in RCN. Come check us out.
Next is Nina.
Hello, safety, and I'm not going to talk this time about slowing down and all the speed. This time, we're going to talk about the things that we did, and as you can see, the fencing at Alyssa Flowers and Mock Bluff, that's all completed. So make sure there are certain areas in which no longer the city required that you put in the fencing, but it was just, it was really a hazard there. So we put in this type of fencing, and thank you for the board for approving that. So it looks really good on that end, on the other end. So if you take a look, see what we're doing. We're going to be looking at other places that might benefit from the fencing as well. It's coming back to the board because it was a change in location. We were going to put a stop sign at Green Creek Trail, but at this point, it's better that we use it at White Sands and Mill Trail. So because it's already been approved for Green Creek, it has to come back to the board for the approval for changing it to White Sands. So do we do that now, or?
It's in unfinished business.
Okay, so that's going to happen. And what we're doing at this time, because the community is just about built out, also Four Seasons Circle is already completed. The safety committee is looking at where should we put not only stop signs, but yield signs, because we have so many people that are walking from the trails, walking their dogs, just out there doing exercises. So where should we put some crosswalks, some slow down and yield signs? So if you have any ideas, please come to our meeting, and that is the first Tuesday of each month, 10 o'clock in the morning at Carson. Thank you.
Next is our social media.
Thank you. Our luau is going to take place on September 21st. The doors are going to open at 5 o'clock. Ticket sales will be this coming Monday on August the 12th. There'll be a sign-in at 7 a.m. and the actual ticket sales purchases will occur at 9 a.m. I've been asked to take a moment to talk about our new ticket sale process. As I said, the resident sign-in will take place at 7 a.m. on August the 12th. Ticket sales are for residents only and begin at 9 o'clock a.m. using our sign-in log. So if you log in as number 1, you'll be the first person called at 9 o'clock. Residents only may obtain 2 tickets per household during the first 2 weeks of our ticket sales. Okay, so if you happen to have a mother that lives with a couple, or a brother, or whoever, then obviously you can buy 3 tickets on the 12th. But the limit is 2 tickets per household. On August the 12th, there will be a separate sign-in list for outside guests or non-residents. The ticket sales for this group will open 2 weeks later on August 26th, if there are any remaining tickets to be sold. On August the 12th, the purchasers of multiple tickets must have in hand a check for each household covered under that purchase. Any resident can purchase a table or a partial table with multiple household checks as long as it does not exceed 8 seats. So for example, if I am going to purchase a table for 8 and there's 4 couples that are going to be sitting at that table, then I would have 4 checks in my hand, 1 from each of those households, to purchase those tickets. So I hope that's clear. We're also going to be putting it in the breeze, but that will be our future procedure. Social committee has 4 new applicants for committee membership. These people have completed the requirements and have been interviewed. They are Elsie Philman, Sherry Plamondon, Joyce Ho, Loretta Ramsey. We are seeking board approval for these applicants. Thank you.
I'll need a motion to accept those as recommended.
You have the names?
I do. The names are up there. I have names. Elsie Philman, Sherry Plamondon, Joyce Hogue, and Loretta Ramsey.
I'll make a motion that we accept those to be accepted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we accept the appointed personnel to the social committee in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
Thank you. Next is the technical operations board. And after that, we're back to Anita with community ambassador.
Okay. All right, we had our national night out. It was so great. It was Thursday, the 25th of July, and we do it a little differently here. We get all of the, we actually live in 2 cities, I tell people. Going out on Highland Springs, you're going this way, you're in Banning, coming this way, you're in Beaumont. So we get both cities involved. Fortunately, we had both mayors from both cities here. We had the chief of police from Banning, had the deputy chief of police from Beaumont here, and our favorite little one, which is little picture. We have Sergeant Ramos. Sergeant Ramos is our resident, more or less, our neighborhood watch Beaumont police person. So he is always here at our neighborhood watch meeting. It was unfortunate that day that another one of the sheriff's dogs had to be put down that day, but earlier that day. But this, her name, the sheriff is Sandoval, and she came and did a wonderful presentation with Raven. She's the bloodhound. They have different types of dogs. So this was a search and rescue dog, so it was great. Our CHP PIO officer that always comes, Darren Meyer, he was here. So it was great. Thank you for all of you that did come out. We had a great attendance. And we had our person that always, we always have to have him take our picture which was Eric Zard. If you need any pictures taken, just say, Eric, please come, and he will do it. Cindy was very helpful with us on our decorations. We appreciate that. Our Neighborhood Watch Steering Committee that's here, we actually did a great job, the whole team. So thank you, Four Seasons, for being who you are, and we have a wonderful community here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Next is our activities director report.
Yay! Yay back! Okay, August. Yay! It is a great month. And guess what? Our next movie night, I wish I could read and your glasses thing.
Bifocals.
Bifocals. Okay, yeah. Anyway, the next movie night and the last movie night, so come if you haven't been to any of them yet, is Friday, August 16th at 8 p.m. And the movie will be the old, wonderful favorite Cocoon. So come and get spooked out in the dark with this family-friendly yet suspenseful movie. And don't forget that you need to wait until 6 p.m. to get your chairs out so that the techies can put the screen up and all that stuff. And it has been fun. So I dare you. If you haven't come. You'll love it. All right, club groups and classes. Karaoke is going to be meeting in the Lodge Ballroom at 5 o'clock this month on Saturday, August 24th. So if you haven't sung this month or last month or the month before, come on down. Sing and enjoy watching your neighbors try to sing. And then you can be their cheerleaders. Clap for them and all that. And we actually have some great singers at karaoke. So I dare you to come to that. And it's free, and you can bring your own goodies for that. So that'll be fun. I'm also going to try, by the way, Eric, I'm also going to try to get another food truck for karaoke night, because that would be fun, right, John?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to try to do
I won't
that.
have to buy pizzas.
What?
I won't have to buy
Yeah, they've been doing pizzas. Well, we talked about thunder. Okay, and next, make a note of this. If anybody likes to travel, almost all of us do, right? There's going to be a huge travel expo in the ballroom right here, Tuesday, August 13th. That's actually next Tuesday, from 1:30 to 5:30. And if you like to travel and love discounted group rates on everything from cruises to local excursions, then this will be right up your alley, and there's going to be refreshments and speakers and prize giveaways. So, right now, by the way, in case you didn't know, in case you've never been to a travel group club, they have over 200 members now. And that is entitling us to even better discounts, okay, on doing some of these cool cruises and stuff. So, come on down, see what kind of packages might suit your fancy, and have some refreshments, and check it out. So, there you go. That's next Tuesday. Don't be bored next Tuesday. Next, and this is probably one of my favorite things, the amphitheater concert this month is going to be on Sunday the 18th, and this is going to be an unusual event. I'm sure most of you have read about it. We're going to be starting this event at 2 p.m. instead of our typical 7 o'clock. And we're going to have yard games and tattoo tables, yeah baby, because it's Woodstock, and artist displays, and the barbecue food truck is going to be here from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., so those of you that don't want to bring your own picnics can just buy food from the truck. And the showcase band this month is the Who Experience, which is great. And they're going to start rocking us out at 7 p.m. So make sure, as usual, that you get your chairs down there. And 10 a.m. is as soon as you can put your chairs up on the day of. And then lastly, feel free to wear your 60s costume. Last year when we did something similar, we had a lot of people say, oh, we wish we would have known that we could have dressed up. So go ahead and feel free to be our living props for that event. Get dressed up, bring your 60s stuff, and we'll have a photographer there, and we'll have a little free little booth that you can do that and take it with. And then just a special thing to note that this is not contrary to Woodstock. This is not going to be a clothing optional event. Okay? And we will not be smoking pot in the facility. Okay? So again, as the poster indicates, think big. Okay? No post smoking, yeah. No pot smoking, and I had nothing. Okay, yeah. There you go. And then lastly, Gale Games, that everybody loves, will be back in the ballroom on Friday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. The game that Gail's going to be presenting this month is going to be the old TV favorite password. So come and be ready to play either as a group or individually, or even just to watch. If you feel uncomfortable to do that, it's still fun to do that, right, Randy?
Yes.
That's right. So it's always a lot of fun. And again, trying to get the food truck thing again, we're going to try to get another food truck. I'm trying actually, and by the way, if anybody knows of a couple other good food trucks, I'm trying to get a Mexican food truck to come as a variety. We have the barbecue one. And it'd be nice to get like a hamburger food truck, American food, something like that. So as we're trying to negotiate, if somebody has a recommendation, let me know and we'll try to get them set up as a vendor to be able to do that.
Ramona's.
Yeah, we tried to call that, didn't we,
I've been
Eric?
by Ramona's and I have not listened to
Yeah.
call back, so I'll go
In
back.
and out. Primo's in and out.
Yeah, in and out too, but the problem with in and out is you have to give them a minimum amount that will be purchased. So, which we don't have. But anyway, there you go. It's going to be a great August. Yay!
Thank you, Cindy. Next up is the management report on pages 56 through 57, and then communication from 58 through 113. There were two requests in there. There was a request on page 85 to allow grandparents to bring in kiddie pools to the pool area.
No.
And hearing no motion to accept that, we'll move on to the next question or next request, which was on page 91, which was a request to disable all of the black plastic transponders and make people get the window tags.
No.
And seeing no motion to accept that, we'll move on from those and go to unfinished business. And I believe, does the board unanimously want to move unfinished business to the end of the meeting?
We wanted to, move the unfinished business to the end of the meeting behind the proposals.
Okay. Seeing no objection, we'll go to new business. Starting on page 114 through 115 is a proposal from the Community Planning and Transition in the ad hoc off-leash area to repurpose the off-leash rules committee to be a off-leash area finding committee to flesh out some new spots for the off-leash area.
I'll make a motion to, to create an ad hoc committee.
Just change the existing one.
Repurpose.
Okay, repurpose the ad hoc committee to find a new location for the dog park.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to change the ad hoc committee working on the dog park purpose to search for an alternate location. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 116 through 117 is the proposal from the Facilities Committee to re-plaster and recoat the Summit Spa Pool. Total cost is $13,050, and this is a reserve expense.
Make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Facilities Committee approved by the Finance Committee to resurface the pool.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the spa plastering and coating at the summit for a cost of $13,050. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 118 through 119 is a proposal for the Facilities Committee to redo the Potrero guardhouse, the interior. It would have new floors, new cabinets. If you saw the pictures from the daily report, it's in dire need of a refurbishment. Total cost is $8,185, and it is a reserve expense.
I'll make a motion to repair the Potrero guard shaft with repairs to the drywall, flooring, paint, etc.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve repairs to the Potrero guard shack at a cost of $8,185. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this was also recommended by the Finance Committee, also approved by the Finance Committee.
Correct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 120 through 122 is a proposal for the Landscape Committee to plant 29 plants in the courts where there's some bare areas. Total cost is $812.
I'll make a motion to repair or plant plants around the courts facility in the amount of $812.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to replace the dead missing plant material on the planter area in the courts for a cost of $812. Any discussion?
Is this on the outside or the inside?
The outside.
The outside? I thought we just approved 2 meetings ago to replant all that at the cost of...
It's some additional
It's
spots.
additional. It's additional.
We've approved sections or different spots. This is another one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 123 through 125 is a proposal from the Landscape Committee to do plum tree trimming in Phase B at the front yard cost center there. The total cost is $3,060.
I move we approve the Landscape Committee's proposal to trim the plum trees for a total of $30,60.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to provide labor and material to trim 34 plum trees from the front homes to our cross center for a cost of $3,060. Any discussion?
Yeah, I think this is really necessary. If you see the mess that those things leave, it's absolutely incredible. And,
We're hanging over people's
they're,
roofs and
the mess is just unbelievable.
I understand the mess this year was caused by the late spring rains, which prevented the spraying to inhibit costs of the development of the plums. So we had plums and we didn't want them. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 126 through 127 is a proposal from the African American Culture Club to hold a Jazz Under the Stars concert here at the amphitheater on Saturday, September 28th from 7 to 9 p.m. The total cost is $1,000. The AACC is going to would like to split the cost with the association, where the association would pay $500 and the AACC would pay $500. So they're asking for $500 from the association for a community-wide event.
I'll make a motion to subsidize the Jazz Under the Stars for the AACC committee for the amount of $500.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the request from the African American Culture Club for $500 to match some of the amount from the club for Jazz Under the Stars here. Discussion.
I
have a concern with this. I think the Jazz Under the Stars is a great event, and it's wonderful what they're doing, the band, the food. My concern really is a slippery slope here with the HOA paying for food, bands, whatever, and we have two others that we're looking at right now. And if we open the door here to start paying for all of these things, I think we're going to be seeing an awful lot of expense in the future. When you look at everything we're talking about right here today, this was $500, and it's not a lot, it's not a big deal, but again, it's a precedent. When we look at the others that are coming up, we're looking at $3,450 total. That is really going to be food and bands and things like that. And I think maybe this is what we really want to do. As far as my feelings are, I think this is not something that the HOA should be paying for. I think they ought to be doing this and charge a couple of bucks to get in, and they can get their $500. But like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it's a precedent that we're going to be setting. We already started doing a little of that, and I'm afraid it's going to be going a bit too far. And where do we stop it? If one club can do it, every club can do it. We've got 86 clubs, and the expense could be humongous if everybody says, hey, this club did it, I want to do it too. That's just my concern. Like I said, it's not a big deal, $500. It's just the trend that we're setting.
So you'd rather have them cover the cost with a admission ticket?
With what?
A ticket?
Yeah, with a ticket.
Okay.
I mean, paying $3, $5, whatever, that would cover the 500. Would cover the 1,000 too. They wouldn't have to pay anything. And that should, and only a few people get the benefit of that, those that can get in there, and the rest of the community is really subsidizing what that amount is. And again, it's chunk change, $500, but again, it's the precedent that we're setting. And if one club does it, the next club that wants it is going to say, hey, you did it here, why can't we do it too?
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is defeated. Let me just add one point here. As Joe mentioned, this is probably a very worthy concert.
Absolutely.
And I hope the social committee would take a good look at something that maybe the association would want to consider for a future amphitheater event sponsored by the HOA. But as Joe pointed out, we can't have every club coming and asking us to share costs.
Or we could have the amphitheater committee look at it also.
Yeah, or the amphitheater committee also.
Okay. Next on pages 128 through 130 is a request from the Jewish Cultural Club for the Hanukkah celebration. This would be on, my text is too small.
I move that we honor the request to create a Hanukkah party. And by the way, the cost here is $0. So just having a party. And again, my wife belongs to this. And if another group gets the money, then this group would want to get the money. And so I made the same argument there. You should get $0. And if you need to do something to pay for it, sell tickets or something else out.
And I believe that the ticket sales for this is $7 per person?
Oh, yes, 7, correct.
So you made the motion?
I move we accept.
Okay. I said.
It's been moved and seconded that we allow the Jewish Cultural Club Committee to have a Hanukkah party for the entire community at no cost to the association. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is a proposal proposal from the Performing Arts Club for rods and drape dividers to use for different shows, not only for pack shows, but other events who would be able to use it as well. They are asking to split the cost. Total cost is $1,354. So they are asking that the association subsidize $678 of that. So again, these would be used for other events that would be in our inventory.
I'll make a motion to accept the Performing Arts Club proposal for the purchase of rods and drapes for the dividers at a cost of $678.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to accept the proposal from the Performing Arts Club to share the cost of purchasing rods and drape dividers at the cost of the association of $678. Discussion.
Well, I've got a question. We just turned down a club for sharing that.
No, but these rods and drapes are for everybody. They're for everybody.
Well, it says
They
for
can
the
be
club. I mean, it says for the Performing
Well, they're
Arts
the ones
Club.
they're the ones that are putting up half the money, but they've talked to the social committee and all of it, and it's going to be used for every event we have in here.
This is hardware, and hardware stays, it becomes part of the HOA and is used for many things.
Well,
So
I'm
it's
only
different.
raising the question because it's going to look like we allowed one to have something that the other one didn't. I just want it clarified and made,
No, this is
I don't disagree that it will be used across the board. for
This is not a
many
single
events.
event.
This is not a single event.
yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify the situation here.
And if you ever had to put those up, believe me.
And I think the last ones that we had, or the last show, it failed and fell on a few performers.
So
this would not fall on performers in the future.
Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 133 through 136 is a request from the pickleball group to hold another tournament here on October 26th. That'd be no cost to the association.
I'll make a motion to allow the pickleball group to hold their event.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the pickleball group having a tournament on October 26th at no cost to the association. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is a request or proposal from the activities director for an art show to be held here on Friday, September 13th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We've done this, it's a yearly art show that the association holds that shows off art that the homeowners create. Total cost will be $1,500.
I make a motion for the art show expenses to be covered by the association in the amount of $1,500.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the association support the art show proposal for the entire HOA at a cost of $1,500. Discussion.
I guess my comments are the same as the last time. I would not be for spending that $1,500. We're looking at desserts and all kinds of things related to that, and again, it's part of the same issue I discussed before. I don't think we should be doing that.
But this isn't for any particular group or club.
This isn't a group or club, it says like it's.
From the HOA.
It's an HOA, it's an HOA sponsored event.
Comes out of their dues.
It's our budget.
And that's actually part of the activities director's budget.
And that budget has all been accounted for?
It'd be for...
We have the money put aside for it?
Yes.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is a proposal from the activities director and the community planning and transition committee to hold a test concert out on the Loggia. The CP&T committee has been looking at separate or different locations besides the amphitheater to hold concerts and other events. This is a test of that that location. It'd be a Halloween-themed concert. And the total cost would be $2,325.50.
Also, I'll make a motion to accept the activities directors and CPT committee's proposal to hold a holiday event to try out different locations within the community to put on different concerts. And a lot of this stuff here, by the way, that you see, that we have on the list here. Well, I'll make the motion first, then I'll discuss.
Okay. Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the activities director and CPT recommendation to hold a demonstration event in the area outside of the lodge area to see if it was going to be a viable alternative to the amphitheater and be big enough so a much larger audience of the association could be present. Discussion.
Yeah, well, no, I'd like to discuss is a lot of the equipment that we see on this, on the application is going to be permanent equipment that we're going to be using for a lot of the concerts and a lot of the events that we have actually inside the ballroom here, such as lighting, sound equipment, different things like that. So the equipment for this particular event is not going to be used just for this particular event. It's going to become permanent equipment for the community.
Other discussion?
Well, if we hold additional concerts outside, then the equipment halls will be double used.
Double, quadruple?
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be permanent equipment.
You have two things here. You have equipment and you also have other, I think there's food refreshments too, and something else refreshments.
And the band.
And the band too. And again, these have all been scheduled, but money has been put aside to do all this.
Well, the activities director has a budget, I believe it's $70,000 for the year, 67. So she has the money to put on events and concerts such as this. Have they been, I think,
Which has never been used.
yeah, she never, it keeps going down every year because she
Yes.
hasn't used it all. But I don't believe that you've actually reserved them. They're on notice.
Whereas if we go out to the courtyard here, we probably can have double that amount of people. But we have to find out first if it's suitable, and if it is suitable, what equipment we will have to get. So this is kind of a poor man's test to see if we can do it. Okay, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on pages 142 through 162 are the June financials, which were reviewed and recommended to be approved by the Finance Committee and board members in attendance to the Finance Committee meeting.
I make a motion to approve the June 2019 financial statements.
Who moved and seconded to approve the financial analysis for June?
There was no second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ed.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And now we'll go back up to unfinished
Unfinished business.
business. And first up would be proposed rule changes for the club group and
I
class.
want to do the stop sign change first.
Sure.
Let's do the stop sign.
So the safety committee is requesting, at last month's meeting, the board approved stop signs to be placed at Brush Creek and Pear Creek and also Green Creek Trail. The committee would like to move the signs that were approved for Green Creek Trail up to the White Sands and Rim Trail crossing of Four Seasons Circle, which would be halfway down the hill from the summit to the, no.
Okay. Any That's acceptable.
We're gonna move the signs, we're not gonna.
They haven't put it in yet.
We haven't put it.
Just for the
I
location.
understand, we're gonna move the locations.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no change in cost, just change in placement.
Why
That's-
did they decide to change it?
Yeah, why?
What's the,
There's more people crossing at White Sands,
Okay.
and it would help for that crosswalk there.
Are they gonna come back to us next month and ask us for more signs to go where they were originally going to go?
Yes.
No.
That's a possibility.
I'd be inclined to defer that until we do our traffic study.
So,
I mean,
We can move,
I don't mind moving the sign.
I don't have any problem moving the signs.
I just don't want
The
them to
next
come.
one, that we do the traffic study.
Yeah, I don't want them to come back and ask us next month for more signs, to
Well-
go back for the ones where we transferred.
I don't think that we'll move any that we're putting in, but there will be a traffic study request by the safety committee once the streets are all completed in order to see where we should have them. 2/3 of our homes are built outside the Four Seasons Circle, yet all 3 of our community centers are inside the traffic circle. So 2/3 of our homeowners have to cross Four Seasons Speedway in order to get to their areas inside that they visit, plus all the trail workers and trail walkers have to cross. So we're following the advice of the safety committee and trying to find different ways to slow down the traffic and make it safe to cross. And that's what path we're on.
The only problem I have is we voted, about 6 months ago to put stop signs on Four Seasons Circle at Heritage.
Yes.
And I noticed every time I go by there, that the people on Four Seasons Circle now are all stopping at the stop sign, but the people coming out of Heritage are blowing right through the stop sign because they know people coming down Four Seasons Circle are stopping. So they're not stopping at their stop sign. So,
Well, when we do have a new traffic study that will be required to get the police in here, I've been told by our absent board member here, who's a police officer in his former life, that while they may give warnings for speeding, they give tickets for blowing stop sign. So if that's what it takes, I'm afraid that's what we're going to have to do. So,
Need a motion.
any further discussion? Everyone comfortable with this?
I'm comfortable with moving this to the
Stop
new
sign.
location.
Okay. You need a vote?
Yes, I'll take that as Ed's motion to move the stop signs. Thank you.
Okay, next we're...
All in favor?
Aye. All in favor? Well, I said we need a vote. You didn't say yes.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, we do need a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And then the last item of business is the proposed rule changes for club, group, and class rules in the community guidelines.
So, we have drafted by Eric some rules and changes for clubs and groups. And we have actually 2 sets of almost identical rules of what they have to do. One of them says no outside guests, and the other one says may include resident 2 guests per household. And we can also look at, I guess, something in between called 1 guest per household.
or we could just add a third one that says keep the same policy we have now, which is 1 guest per household.
So
original
Well,
zero.
I think that
Zero, one, or two.
there's some discrepancy in the current guideline, more so in the club section. In the club section, it says that it's for residents only.
No, but I'm just talking about the new one that's gonna go out.
If this one goes out,
If this one goes out, this one says no guest, the other one says 2 guests.
Yes.
I'm suggesting a third one that says 1 guest, which is what the current policy is right now for most of it. I realize there's some discrepancy, but since we're putting a new one out, let's add that in, 1 guest per household.
Because you've got all the other changes too in here. So
Yes.
you're saying along with these other changes?
Yes, along with the other changes, it'll give 3 options to the community to comment on.
So rather than sending out 3 sheets that they have to read, if everything else is the same on this sheet, you should just have a place on that one line that says, no guests, 1 guest, or 2 guests, and they can just talk about it. They'll never read through 3 of these.
I agree. No, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the other option.
Yeah.
I don't care how you put it out, just give
Yeah.
them the third option.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem
and,
giving
and
them
we,
3 options.
you know, we can get comments back, say, please fill in 1, 2, or 3.
Yes.
So,
I make a motion that we send that out for comment, for 30-day comment, to include on the guest issue an option for 1, 0, 1, or 2.
and this is for clubs and groups.
Clubs and groups.
Yes. Yeah, the current guest guideline of six per resident, if you're going to the pool or the bistro, when that does open up, that's not affected by this.
No.
Is this limit going to be, is this going to time limit? 1 per meeting, 1 per month, 1 per quarter,
Yeah,
1 per year?
how often does this guest, I don't think we addressed that in here. How
It is not.
often
Do you want to
does-
second it, then have more discussion? Or somebody second?
Did you propose it?
I propose saying after 30 days.
I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
There is no, in this document and in the current document, there's no limitation to guests for a club or group. If it's 1 guest per household to come to a group, they could come to a group today, they could come to a group tomorrow, they could come to a group the following day.
I think we need to put some limits on that. I think that that's one thing people are concerned about is what they see as a permanent guest. And if you allow them to have 2 guests for anything today, anything tomorrow, anything the next day, that person does become a permanent guest.
In effect.
I would limit that to once a month.
I'd be more comfortable with once a quarter. I also would be in favor of putting a limit on the number of entrances any one guest can have in a quarter.
We start doing things quarterly, we're basically shutting it all down. You might as well just have 0. And that's because a quarter is such a long time. You can't really function in a quarter. The month sounds a little bit better. Obviously, we have a number of factions which the whole community is at odds with, and that's unfortunate, and it's not a good way for the community to function. I've heard too that the board is being accused of having an agenda, which of course we do not have. At least I don't. I'm sure you don't either. So we need to resolve this, and I think we need to lay all of the issues on the table. And probably the biggest thing that people are concerned about is whatever you do, you have to have a policy to enforce it. And without the enforcement in place, it's going to be tough for people to make a decision. What may be objectionable to some people by having 2 guests, they may have in their minds, well, oh my God, 2 guests, they're going to be coming in and they're not going to be able to stop them, and people are going to overflow all of our meetings and impinge on what we do. That would be a problem. If we have a good system of keeping all of this in check, such that whether you have 2 guests or even more, it's not going to impinge on anybody, I think that would be, a better way to proceed. So I think going forward to the community and having them check one of 3 boxes is fine, but I think in order to do that, I think you need to have the enforcement there so that people can make a more enlightened decision. So far, with what I've seen, there have been a number of things that have happened. John went out with Cindy and talked to all of the heads of the clubs, and they said 2. And then we had a town hall meeting. The majority of the people at the town hall meeting said 2. Now we have a number of the people basically saying 0. So there's obviously contention here, and there may be inputs which can cause people to like it one way or the other. And I think that should be an important part of it. So should we go out? Yes. Should we have the enforcement in place? I think without it, we may end up with something that is going to continue for a long time, and we don't want that. It's been far too long, it's created too much consternation, and that's not a good thing.
But I do think the number of guests and the enforcement is 2 separate issues. You can't design an enforcement procedure until you know what you're trying to enforce.
That's true, but because right now we're talking about people walking in willy-nilly, and I think a lot of the people that want 0 are so upset with the fact that people are just coming in and nobody's stopping them, and they come in whenever they want and how often they want. I think if there were controls in place to limit them such that they would be almost invisible, they may not be so strong in that one direction. And that's...
I'm not suggesting we shouldn't send out an enforcement proposal. I'm just saying it's 2 separate questions.
It is, but they relate to each other.
One
affects the other.
We have this proposal to determine how many guests people are interested in having. We should get that out there so that people can start reviewing it. I agree with Ed, enforcement's a separate part of it. We can't really enforce what we don't know yet what we're going to be enforcing. We need to know what we're going to come up with, whether we're going to have 0, 1, or 2, and then we can write the enforcement policy based on that.
I guess I'm maintaining that the enforcement policy doesn't change, whether it's 0, 1, 2, or 20. The enforcement is the enforcement, and you do certain things regardless of how many we're talking about.
Well, one of the problems that I have with this whole thing is if we go to the quarter system, we just shut down our 4 African American community clubs and groups. And are we looking at a discrimination lawsuit?
Well, I think if you have rules for guest policy that are across the entire community for every club in here, you're not discriminating against one particular group. Sorry. I'm just saying that I think that if we have a policy that goes across all clubs and groups in this community, that same policy is in effect for all groups and clubs. I don't see how we have a discrimination policy when it's the same for all clubs and groups.
I totally agree with that. It affects all of groups and clubs. But right now, it actually is only going to affect those 4 groups.
Well,
why only those 4 groups? Because that's the only people that have people that come every week.
no, I'm not sure.
Well, except for poker. You're right.
How about Bible study?
They don't have guests anymore.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. She brings guests to her house now. She did away with that.
Yep.
She does guests in her house.
Well, if she could do that, why can't the other clubs?
Well, they could. I'm just bringing this up as a point. Okay? I don't say I agree with it. I just bring it up as a point.
Well, we cannot run any kind of an organization in total fear of lawsuits.
Okay.
What we have to do is what's reasonable and what our lawyers tell us.
If the board wants to go with the quarter system, then I'm fine with it.
quarter system, it makes sense in that it allows you, if you have a family member or somebody with you staying or visiting, and they happen to, you know, you can maybe take them so you don't have to leave them home. But it takes away the opportunity for people to be bringing the same person in repeatedly all the time.
Doing it monthly would take care of that. I mean, if you did it weekly, I could see that would be a problem, but doing it monthly would not have that same issue.
So as we're sending this out, trying to get their impression and feelings about 1, 2, or 0 guests, let's get their impressions or feelings about whether it should be quarterly or monthly.
Or monthly? All right.
Does that go for all teams too? So the groups that have teams, you know?
No, that's a different issue.
That's a different deal?
That's a different issue
Okay.
in the rules. That's a different issue.
Okay.
When we talk about frequency, are we talking about the guest or the host?
I guess.
The guest.
So it doesn't matter, there's 3 different hosts. That guest, you know, can say, you sponsor me this week, you sponsor me the next week, and you sponsor me the
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
That's why it
brought
has
up
to
in,
be, that's why it has to be the guest.
It has to be the guest.
So it's a guest.
It's a guest, not the
So
host.
I, as a host, can have you as a guest 1 week, you as a host the second week,
No.
you as a host
Can't do that.
yes, the 3rd week.
I'm saying we limit the number of times a guest can enter the community per quarter.
Okay, so the limitation is on the guest, not on the host.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
No. Not to
How do we enforce that?
Not to enter the community.
How do we enforce that? You say the first quarter you're allowed to come in, and then you can't come in until the second quarter?
No.
No, we're trying to avoid having permanent guests.
Agreed.
The only way you can limit that is if you put the limit on the guest.
Yes. Limit the guest, limiting the guest to once a quarter, and then enforcing that. How do you do that?
That's a separate question.
Well, wait. First of all, we're not going to limit guests coming through the gate. I mean, the guests can come through a gate anytime.
Well, the limit would be on the group activities.
Exactly, the group activities, that's what we're talking about, not coming through the gate.
Well, that's true, but if you're going to have, let's say, a guest coming to a club, and he was there in April, now is it up to the club to say, oh, by the way, you were here in April, you can't come until July?
Yes.
Yes, and they.
Exactly my point.
Basically, that has the same effect as 0.
Please. So,
My contention is that we're not in the business of adding to the community center for Banning and Beaumont. The facilities are for the residents. And the way Thank you, but we heard you the first time. So we're in the business of providing facilities for our residents. We're not in the business of providing facilities for those who are non-resident. But admittedly, guests are part of the benefit for those who occasionally have guests. We're not here to have an ongoing guest from the past area.
But we're basically in the business of providing enjoyment and comfort to the people in the community, not just of providing facilities. If people get joy and pleasure out of having guests occasionally come in, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I would think people would be okay with doing that, again, as long as it's not abused and it's done.
but it's not limiting guests coming to your house.
No, I understand. We're talking
Limiting
about
guests coming to your club.
Sure.
This is simply about clubs and groups.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, but again, whatever the function is, if the people in that group get further enjoyment or whatever out of having a guest come in once a month, then basically we're curtailing that pleasure as well.
Well, if they come once a month, once a quarter, they can come to the club or group. But the point is to prevent permanent guests. And you have to put the limit on the guest.
I'm concerned that if you make the frequency too short, you're driving the decision to 0.
No, by making it too long,
If
you're
you put
driving
it
it
out
to
to a
0.
quarter, you might get 2. But if you say we're going to have someone come in every month, they're going to say 0. Because I just saw that person, you know, we don't all remember our weeks from our months, but I just saw him the other day. She was here last week, you know. If you space it out by a quarter, you have a better chance of getting maybe 2 guests. But if you say it's going to be every month, I think you're going to get a lot of zeros.
That may be. Why not make it once a year? that'll really shut it down.
I think you're tempting them.
Never ask the questions, but you don't want the wrong answer. I've had this argument with other people. My own mind is once a quarter is the compromise.
Well, like Jolene said, let's put it on the comment. Let the people decide whether they want a quarter, a month, or what.
Too many markups on there. It's going to drive people crazy.
It's only 2.
Well, you got 3 choices on guests. You got 2 choices on frequency.
You only have to put 2 X's.
You only
We only
have
have
2
to
X's.
do X's, and again, it gives us more information about what people are feeling.
And we're only talking about clubs and groups. We're not talking about anything else.
Of course, of course.
And we make that very clear, clubs and groups and big.
Yes. You want to put it out there or do it that way? Okay. But
So we have a matrix, 1, 2, and 3, and monthly, quarterly, and whatever.
I'd say monthly, quarterly is good enough.
Monthly,
Because
quarterly
if
is
you do
good.
it wrong
Monthly,
with
quarterly,
monthly,
yeah.
it's going to feel like a friendly guest again.
So we're content to put out 1, 2, or 3 quarterly.
1, 2, or 3, quarterly or monthly. Or quarterly or monthly. 2 checks. 1, 2, or 3, and quarterly or monthly. Right?
Actually 0, 1, and 2.
0, 1, and 2, yeah, what did I say?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 3,
Yeah.
yeah. 0, 1, and 2, I'm sorry.
Well, if it's 0, you don't have to make the second tick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you put 0, you don't check the other one. That's correct. Yeah.
So what?
So we have a motion and a second.
Eric, hold on.
Sorry.
Let's make it. My concern is we can't agree among ourselves here with accepting a public domain, so allow us to continue for a minute. What are we going to put out and what are we asking?
We just said we're going to put out
We're going to put out
this one right here is the one Eric put together with on the guest 0, 1, or 2, and then next to that quarterly or monthly.
But we haven't looked at the rest of this document. And we haven't harmonized it to another section on facilities use.
No, I think this is just clubs and groups.
And we have talked about abolishing the difference between the clubs and groups.
Correct.
We haven't addressed that
There
issue.
is one. In this thing here, there is no difference. All clubs and groups are the same.
It's in here.
there's basics. The residents take priority. We're going to combine clubs and groups together. And now the issue boils down to 0, 1, 2, or 1 month or 1 quarter.
This was taken from the current guidelines that we have and then modified it to change it to be where clubs and groups are the same. It would allow groups then to have a bank account.
Bank accounts and all that stuff. They have the option of having a bank account.
Correct.
In my way of thinking, we're putting out to the residents a 50-cent question, but we're giving them a $1 questionnaire. It's too complicated.
This whole thing is simplified. We simplified this.
But we're not asking, the only questions which they have are 0, 1, and 2, and monthly or quarterly.
No, they can comment on the whole entire thing. There's a comment section on the back where they can comment on the whole entire thing. The 2 questions we want answers from are the 0, 1, and 2, and the quarterly or monthly. But people can comment on the whole entire document if they want.
We could have gone out just with a single decision, one choice from the board. What are your comments? And that's the end of it. What we're doing is we're opening it up to get a feel from the community as to what they want. So again, we didn't have to give any choice. We're here to make a decision and pass it forward to the community. And what we're saying is, okay, community, even though we may make that decision, we're not going to do that. We're going to give you a chance to give the input, and since our job is to try to make the maximum number of people the happiest, this is how we feel we're doing our due diligence. And going back to you, again, we've gone out several times, we're going to go back to you again, and we're going to give you these choices, and we'll proceed from there.
What I don't understand is why I have to send out a 3-page document to get the answer to the questions.
Because we have, by law, we have to send, if we're having a rule change, and this whole entire document is a rule change, you have to send a rule change out for a 30-day comment, so we have to send it out. We don't have a choice. Because,
Well, the law changed a couple years ago. The minimum is to post it, and what we've done in the past is posted it on the bulletin board that we do for the agendas, and then also email it in the daily report and post it in the breeze so that people.
no, what he's asking though, Eric, is why do we have to send out the whole document? What I'm saying is the whole document is a rule change, the whole entire document is
That's
a
the
rule
whole
change.
story. That's
Is
the
a
whole
rule
story.
change.
And my concern is
Therefore, you gotta send the whole document out.
the 5 and the 6 of us haven't reviewed it. For example, there's a thing in here about not for commercial or political purposes. Well, we can't say that anymore because the state law's changed. We now have to allow a political purpose. We haven't gone through this to harmonize this with current law.
No, a club or a group, not for political purposes. We have to allow political groups in there to use our facilities, but we don't have to allow them in the groups or the clubs.
No, but we can't prevent, we've got a new group forming, Four Seasons Blue. I don't think, this would suggest we can't allow that group to form.
No, it just says, you have to have 10 members.
It's made up of homeowners?
Pardon me?
It's made up of homeowners, right?
Yeah.
That group?
I'm not arguing the political group. I'm trying to say we haven't looked over this thing carefully and we haven't harmonized it to current rule, to current law. And you're asking residents to make a comment on this. And in fact, we haven't sat down and talked to them.
Yeah, but this is the same one that we have sent out 3 months ago to all the board members. And the only thing we've changed on it is the guest policy then.
Yeah, we've been looking at this for a
This is
while.
exactly what we sent out
And it's not
2
the
months
end of the world.
Yeah, the current guidelines don't allow for a
Pardon me?
The current guidelines, which is what this was taken from, don't allow support groups to be political. Section 4515 of Civil Code has made all HOAs in the state have to open it up for a homeowner if they want to throw an event that's political in nature. And we have rules in force to protect the association in case and those parties do happen for those parties.
Ed, by the time Eric gets this out, let's say by the end of the week, we should all have time to take a look at it and make whatever comments or recommendations to it. But again, whatever we put forward now, that doesn't say that when it comes back, we can't make slight little changes. Again, not to the basic issues of 1, 2, or 3, or quarters or monthly, but we can make other subtle changes that are needed here.
This is an informational for us document. Once it's gone out for the public comment, when the public comments come back, that's to help us make a document that makes sense. We tweak it then for whatever we need to do to tweak, to make it. I mean,
Whatever goes out now.
I understand that when we send it out, it's not final. My question is that we all review this sufficiently so that we're each individually comfortable with what we send out for comment. And if you're saying we are, then fine, we send it out. I'm just saying is, I haven't discussed with any of you, if you've looked at the rest of this, or I guess I've discussed it with you, but I haven't discussed it with the rest of you, and if you're comfortable with it, then fine, send it out.
But we can't discuss it among us without being here. We have to do it in open session. We can't do it in executive session or anywhere else. So this is the only place we can do it.
And all I'm saying is we haven't discussed this whole thing.
That's what we're doing now. That's what we're doing.
Okay?
okay, bring up your concerns then.
Well, he doesn't know, he hasn't looked at it. so
Eric?
he's-
Yes.
If we send this out for a 30-day comment and accept the question on the guest policy, which we're asking people to give us their number, 0, 1, or 2, or monthly, quarterly. We make other changes in this, we have to send it out for another 30-day comment.
If it's just a text, we forgot a period or you're capitalizing
No, but I
something.
mean, if there's a significant change, then we...
Yes, it would go back out.
So we really can't tweak this.
If after 28 days, the comments come back and the board had an aha, we need to do something different, let's change this or let's change that, then yes, that would then go back out for
Go
another
back out
28.
for another 30-day comment.
Yes.
All right, Eric, can we agree to this? You put together what we just discussed here right now. Send it out to all of us individually. Let us take a look at it, make whatever comments, send it back to you, and unless there's something dramatic going on here, send it out. That way we look at the final document based on what we just discussed.
I think that would be acceptable.
Can we put a number of days on that? Can we put,
A week?
Let's limit it to 3 or
A
4
week?
days. I don't want
A week? By next Friday? Can we do that? Or sooner?
I would say by Tuesday.
By Tuesday?
Well, we want that time for the September board meeting.
September board meeting, which is the 10th.
What date is the September board meeting?
It's the 10th.
12.
Well, so 30 days, if we would have,
The 12th is Monday, so we would need to do it by Tuesday, wouldn't we? Oh, it has to go out for 29 days, doesn't it?
28 days.
28 days.
20 days. How long does it take you to do the mailing to put this out? What does it take you? 3 days?
Well, it only goes to 5, 6 of us, right?
No. We're talking about, this is gonna go, you got it right now. He wants your comment back by Monday or Tuesday so he can get it out to the members by Tuesday or Wednesday.
Do we mail this?
We have not. The civil
So we
code,
just-
civil code changed so that it's not a requirement
We
to
don't
mail
require
things like
mail,
this.
right? We just put it in
We could do, the last several rule changes that we've gone through, we've put it in the daily report, we've printed out multiple copies and had it at the front desk, and then we've advertised it in the breeze for people that don't like email, that there's a proposed rule change and come to the front desk to pick up a copy or call.
Yeah,
We're more than happy to take it, do a
It'll be
delivery.
on the website.
Website, yeah.
But I think this is an important enough issue that we should mail it out to everybody.
That's expensive
I know,
process.
but
That's my concern. is we wanna
because
make sure this is
I
pretty
don't
good.
think we're gonna get the response from enough people if they have to come down here and pick it up and do their thing.
I don't think we have any choice, we've got to mail it. We want the full community input. Eric, can you make the changes by tomorrow?
Yes.
Fix this?
Mhm.
Okay, so if you make it by tomorrow, we can look at it over the weekend and Tuesday, have something back to you or have inputs from us so that next Tuesday you're ready to send it out?
Well,
I don't know why I have to wait till Tuesday.
Well, I'm just giving you a few
I
more
don't,
days. We can do it Saturday.
The only change, we've got it in our hands.
Yes.
He doesn't send it out to us. We
I
already
know.
got it. The
But-
only change he's gonna make is on the guest, 0, 1, or 2, or monthly or quarterly.
Well, Ed was concerned that there may be things that.
Yeah, Ed's worried about other items in here and he wants to be able to look at it.
Well, I'm willing to look over this. I can have it back to Eric by first thing Monday morning.
Okay,
Okay.
let's do it then.
It'll look like a cat with red on its paws walked all over it, but that's okay.
Of course, that presupposes that we don't have any comments that require change, because if we have to make a change, then it has to go back out to everybody.
Yeah, I worry that's one of the things in civil code is that the board can't, and I think the board has done an excellent job in not doing that, where one person emails, and the next person emails, and the next person emails, and in effect, you're having a meeting through email, which civil code is explicit that we can't do that. If the board wants to make changes like that, I think the safest bet would be to
Do it right
have,
now.
what's that?
I said, do it right now.
Either do it right now or make changes and have another separate open session meeting so that it can be discussed and agreed upon by the board as a whole and then sent out. Or do it right now.
You know, if we have another open session meeting,
We didn't say it's the most popular.
Stay and do it now.
Yeah,
They do it now.
so let's start going through here.
While we're all doing that, just one other comment.
Sure.
Can we move these tables around a little bit? I'm sitting with my back to everyone, and I'm talking to you rather than talking to the community. Maybe next time, move this around so we can all be facing kind of forward.
Yeah, we can definitely modify the layout. We were trying this.
We want this layout. All I'm saying is just kind of move it around a little bit. So
Just push the table back, because there's nobody back here anyway. Well, I'm sorry, there is one, sorry. Okay. Go ahead, push the table back.
Oh,
Eric, I got a question for you on the rules in here. Eric?
Yes.
Is the association actually licensed to do bingo, or is the people that were running the bingo?
We don't have bingo anymore.
I understand that, but if we still have a license, I mean, does the association
No,
still?
we do not.
Okay, so.
Take that out?
That portion of number 3, take that out, because we don't have bingo and we're not licensed to do it. Number 3, number 4, I'm sorry, number 4. 4.
So just take out the section that says association sponsored bingo has been licensed by the city of Beaumont.
Yep,
Yeah, just take it out.
Okay.
Because the rest of it's okay, the violation and the gambling, that's okay.
you have to meet at least one. Do they have to meet at least once a month? What if a particular month they don't have a meeting?
As far as item F on number 2,
Right.
that could be the
We do
closer.
have clubs that meet quarterly, like the Discovery Club or whatever.
So take that out?
Yeah, take that out, that's
Take it
why
out.
they have to meet once a month.
How about once a year?
They may have to,
Well, I think they should have to do at least once a year, or why even have a club? Why even have one if you're not meeting at least once a year?
Meet at least once a year?
I would say so.
when we say they must be established for at least 3 months, I'm not sure I understand what that means.
So they're an interest group for the first 3 months? They
Okay, so they have to, sort of like getting on the committee, they have to.
Yes.
Okay.
It's their probationary period.
Cindy,
Yep,
did the Veterans Club ever meet?
yes,
Really?
yep.
Okay.
Not to my
Have they
knowledge.
since Herb passed away?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Well, we meet once every year on Veterans Day.
They haven't had a meeting.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They've,
In fact, well, I guess it was the heads of the veterans for the movie review, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, there's another big issue here, which has to do with the individual bank account.
Right.
What we're saying is, every club must have a bank account. And that's a problem.
No, we're saying if they
Collect money.
if they collect money,
But do you want to have a minimum amount
Well-
that would trigger that?
Some of it, yes, I mean, you have
Club-
some small clubs with small amounts of money, and
I thought we
they're
were
not gonna
talking,
open up a bank account.
I
Why
thought we
can't
were
we
talking about they may have a bank account.
That's not, it's May, we're holding the managers of the clubs and groups to decide that.
Well, yeah, because on this piece of paper, it says have a bank account, it doesn't say may have.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in section 5, the first sentence says clubs and groups that elect to collect money in the form of dues, fundraisers, and ticket sales must appoint officers, have bylaws in a charter, have an individual bank account in the club's name. So change that and say if they collect dues and they have a standing amount of at least $500, then they must. Is that acceptable?
That's item 5C.
Yes.
That's got to be adjusted.
How would you like that to be adjusted? So if you want to have a minimum amount that if they're under $500, if they want a bank account, they can. If they're over $500 that they have as a standing amount, then they must have a bank account.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, $500 is fine. And Eric, on that number C,
yes.
Could you put a slash after club's group bank account in the club's or group's name?
Okay.
Okay, because that was just taken from the old one where clubs in their bank account.
Yes.
If we change must to may,
That's what I prefer.
At the
well,
top.
and that's fine, I agree, but then it says may appoint officers instead of must appoint officers.
Well,
I think at this,
no.
the version this would be if they have $500 or more in there.
That's not the issue. The issue is, must they have officers?
Well, you have to have an officer to open the bank account, but yeah.
Yeah, but the way, if we change must to may.
But what Eric is saying,
But then who does Cindy talk to if they don't have an officer?
Their club or group captain.
Whoever's their
You have to have a club captain, right? So go back up to number 2, and we put in there, must have a club captain.
Club leader?
Because that's the must.
It's already covered in paragraph 1.
Must-
Okay, yeah,
must
number 1
select-
covers it.
Yeah.
One covers it.
So we can take it out of 5A.
No.
5A is already covered in paragraph 1.
It's already covered in paragraph
Yeah.
1.
And they go back, that's why I
But
said,
that's just a captain.
we can go over and down, but it needs to be going over.
One is a captain and one is an officer.
Yeah, but it's conflicting.
Potato.
No,
Yeah.
because you need officers if you're gonna open up a bank account. If you don't have a bank account, you can have a captain. You can have a leader, a captain, whatever. You wanna change the word captain to pure officer, that's fine too.
Well,
Just to
change
make
captain to officer.
To make it consistent.
So we're saying that in section 1, all clubs and groups must have an official name and select an officer?
An officer, just use that. That'll be consistent through.
It's too bad, we don't have a food truck coming today.
There's 3 times in number 1 where the word captain is used.
I'll change all.
Now, do clubs that don't have a bank account have to have bylaws and a charter?
They may have bylaws and charters.
Okay, so may's okay there. That means if you have a club, don't collect any money, but you get together and do something, you don't have to have bylaws and a charter.
We're saying they must have bylaws and charter.
So going back to number 5, are we
So
gonna,
we're saying they have to, but they don't have to. Because we're saying they
See, we
must.
changed the word to may.
Did we change that word to may?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
so going back to 5, are we gonna put a dollar amount on that?
Where they
Where it
must.
says must?
It says, we said may.
We just said may.
On 5, the last word's may, not must now.
All right.
Well, we're,
On number 5,
Mm-hmm.
the last word where it says ticket sales may instead of must.
okay. And then are we gonna drop that $500 requirement, just if it's up to the club or group if they want to have a bank account or not?
I thought that's what we were talking about earlier.
Well, but then if it's collecting a lot of money, I think we want a must in there.
We're charging the captains, presidents, whatever, to manage their affairs appropriately.
True.
May.
May.
And if they don't do it right, then in fact, we can take discipline against the people or against the group.
Yeah, and you make a good point there. I guess my only concern is since all of these clubs, we can try to go arm's length, but all of these clubs are part of this association. And if somebody steals money even though it's a club and we're saying, hey, it's a club and it's separate, they can come back on the HOA.
Well, that's why it says on the document, not right there, but where the association doesn't indemnify or defend or reimburse.
That helps, but it doesn't fix the problem. You can say all you want. Since we're sanctioning the club, we own it.
Well, I would say that we're always a deep
What
pocket.
I'm even talking about is not.
$1,000 at the most, right?
That was, yeah, there has to be a dollar amount.
Yeah, and 1 or 2 clubs at the most.
We don't have very many
How are you
clubs.
gonna
How
even
much
know
How much money they have?
how much money they have?
Good point.
Because we're not auditing them. You know, they have to be self-auditing.
And they should be.
Yeah.
And with a large income club, we should be able to go in and audit.
No, but
We've never audited any of the clubs.
But we want to.
We don't want to, but we may have to.
I think the club should be responsible to their members, not to the board.
I agree. They should be.
Yeah. Well, why would we want to audit them?
We don't want to audit them, but they're under our umbrella, and even the threat that they may be audited might help keep whoever may want to do wrong in check.
But that's where item E comes in, where it says that they, if applicable, obtain all necessary permits and/or licensing fees, including its own nonprofit status that is not affiliated with the association.
So where are we? Do we have an amount on there?
At this point, no,
We just put may.
Okay.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, though, in that we may say that we're not responsible for all of the money and whatever, but at the same time, we're also telling them what to do, telling them how many guests they can have, how they can meet, where they can meet, blah, blah, blah. In a court of law, that's going to come down that you were controlling those clubs.
That was my point 6 months ago. That
So to keep saying that,
we
you know,
shouldn't keep-
we don't
shouldn't
have
keep
some kind of,
all these regulations on groups and clubs, because it looks like we're directing them as to what to do.
Well, the reason we're doing that is because they're part of the umbrella, is this HOA.
well, and they use the facilities and the benefits of this association. So you can't have clubs that you don't control somehow because they're using our facilities.
Trayvon Martin.
Well, like for instance though, we do have groups that come in that are part of our residency, like Rotary, right? They're an international company or an international organization, right? If they aren't paying their taxes on Rotary, it doesn't come on the association. It's directly between Rotary and the, you know, and the entity, or the entity and IRS, or whatever, right?
Yes, but that's only going to happen with these clubs if you set them up as their actual separate unit with.
Which is kind of what you're trying to do if you're designated that they take on their own liability, right? And say, you guys are now charged, it's incumbent upon you to follow the IRS laws and file taxes and whatever. It is not incumbent upon the association to be sure that you are compliant with IRS laws. That way, when the IRS has an issue with you financially, it's not because the association missed an audit problem. It's because you did not do your due diligence to go ahead and file the paperwork and do what you need to do.
See, also, I think this document, especially when we put the word may in, we're saying this is the maximum you can do. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. We're giving them the option. We're not telling them they have to do these things. We're giving each club and group the option to run their own little group and club as they see fit.
Well, if we were totally giving them their option, We wouldn't be sitting here discussing whether or not they should have guests or.
We don't say may have 2 guests, we say you may not have, or you may have, or you do have. We're not saying you may have whatever you want.
I'm just wondering how much money we're talking about here. Because this is not like a HOA-sponsored $34 a ticket thing, right?
And we're talking potato chip money.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about clubs that collect $1 to $5 or something for 20, 40, 60 people.
Yeah.
And we're going to build something that cost us $2,000 a month to enforce.
I mean, you might have a couple clubs or groups that have a few $1,000s in that club or group.
Okay.
But still,
But overall, not much.
I'm just trying to foresee how someone would say, okay, so-and-so was given all of this money and lost her purse. Got stolen, who knows what. We want to be reimbursed. It's not our fault, right?
Well, if it's articulated in the guidelines up here as well, or, I mean, as it is even now,
Yeah.
then they're aware as a
It says we
group
don't
that
reimburse.
it isn't the association that's paying them back.
It's
It's the
their
club
name.
member.
It's up to them. If they lose it, they lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not us.
Right.
If they sign a contract with a band or a group or something, and something goes wrong, and the group doesn't show up, that's between the group and the band, right?
That's right.
So,
We hope.
The other side of the coin is if they hire a band, and for some reason that club or group does not have the money to pay them, you better believe the band's going to come after us.
oh no,
No, they won't.
I don't think so.
In fact, you have to, it's whoever is signing the contract.
Because we're not
if
signing.
they co-sign, yes.
No, even without co-signing.
No,
You know,
we're not signing a contract with the band. How could they come after us? We're not under contract with anybody.
Because it's a group that's part of the
I
station.
understand that, but we're not signing. There's no signature of any of our board members or any of our people or our
By
administration
that
on
line
that
of
contract.
thinking, you would say clubs could obligate us to a contract.
Yeah.
I don't think clubs can.
No, they can't obligate us, but again, with certain lawsuits, they can go after everybody.
Well, there's enough lawyers out there, yes.
Yeah. But again, so where are we? Are we,
We're still on number
are we
5.
saying, we're going to use may and not use an amount? Are we saying,
Yes,
I think.
Yes.
I'm
okay,
comfortable with that.
yes.
all right, well, let's go with that.
So, we've gone through 5 yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we go back to, not back, not back, no. Can we go to number 6? Is in the event of a dispute, wait, Cindy.
Wait, I'm getting my glasses.
Oh, okay. In the event of a dispute regarding club activities, members of the club are solely responsible to resolve the dispute. We actually added something on there that, another step, that if they can't resolve it, then it goes to the activities director. And then if it can't be
We
resolved.
have a mediation clause that's in there because we've had to use it.
But I'm just saying number 6 doesn't include that. All it
In
says.
fact, I don't even know.
I didn't include that.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
I didn't take, this was strictly from the current club and group guidelines and modified it to be, you know, either no guests or 2 guests, and modified it to be clubs/groups.
From the current one?
And we might want to look
The
at.
current one or the one that?
Current one, not the one
No.
that you and Cindy worked on.
Yeah, so we might want to look at some of the crafted wording.
Yeah, well, we got to add on number 6.
Yeah, because those were things that were determined
Yeah.
needed to go in there so that people would understand the process of mediation.
Dependent on the situation.
No, we have an actual process that we go through, and the situation is then formed to the mediation process. That way everybody knows what's going to be happening if there's a conflict that can't be resolved within the club, group, or class. Initially, we tried to have them and encourage them to work out their own issues. But occasionally, like we just had, we had an impasse. And it was serious enough to disrupt the entire class.
Should the mediation process be part of this document? Or should
Yes.
this document just say, if you can't resolve, use the mediation process and have a separate mediation
It's
process?
actually only like, what,
Two
two
lines.
sentences?
Two sentences,
That
yeah.
adds on, but it describes enough so that
But
someone
it's-
can.
it's strictly for clubs and groups.
Exactly.
What if a class has them?
It's clubs, groups, and classes.
Yeah,
whatever you
all the
wanna
stuff
say.
in there, by the way, should be groups, clubs, and classes.
Well, classes was on a separate sheet, that was on a separate sheet.
Classes currently are on a separate line.
Yeah, but I think they all be the same.
And teams?
But then,
See, if you had a separate mediation process, you could put it for teams, for clubs,
For everything.
classes, and groups.
Yeah, it could be for all of that.
Yeah.
So you had a separate
But
policy.
instead of making it part of this document, you have it as a separate document. This is how we mediate.
Okay, it just
Even if it's a
fit in-
paragraph, you know.
When you see the original proposal, it fit right in
Yeah.
to, you know,
But we're trying to get this one out now.
Yeah, it should be a
You
separate.
know, so if we just take out the things that we don't absolutely need in this one, because this is the one that's volatile.
okay,
The mediation one won't be volatile.
okay.
It won't be.
We could just add
They won't
that in
understand
other
it,
words
but,
before it goes in.
it won't be as emotional as this.
So numbers,
Just take number 6 out.
Number
and
six.
We'll have an overall mediation policy for disputes.
but does the mediation policy talk about it being resolved within the group first?
Yep.
Okay, all right, good.
Starts at the lowest level and works up.
Right.
Now, number 7 may or may not be.
Applicable,
Yeah.
I mean, if we got this separate thing here for classes, and
Yeah.
then number 7 is kind of,
Number 7 is a carve out and an exemption for the dance, barroom dance and social club.
We don't have a social club, we have a social committee, so that
Committee,
doesn't
yeah,
apply.
yeah, social committee, by the way, not club.
No,
Did they used to be called the barroom dance and social club a long
no,
time ago?
no, they were ballroom dance, but this was added on, I think, from as,
Well, we shouldn't put committee in there anyway.
No,
no, we
Correct.
should not.
no. Just cross that off, cross the whole thing out.
They got 7.
They got 7.
Number 8 looks fine. Number 9 looks fine.
I thought,
Are we crossing out 7 or are we keeping?
Crossing.
We crossed out 6 and we crossed out 7.
All right.
why does the activities director have to be advised if they're collecting money or not?
Simply for awareness.
yeah, but they're not going to, how often are they going to tell? I mean, well, I don't know, Cindy doesn't want to be hearing from every club who collected $5 tonight.
How about it should be advised rather than must be, or may be advised?
I mean,
Do you even
what
care?
what was the point of this one?
Cindy,
Was
do you
it-
even care?
I mean, if we're not auditing them, what was the point of this one?
Are you talking about 7?
They're talking about 8, that the
No.
activities director must be advised in advance of all club activities involving the collection of money.
I don't agree with it.
What?
I mean, I don't think, I need to know,
That's
right?
what I'm saying,
It's
that's
a
what-
lot
If they
of
had,
deal.
if they had
I
a
don't-
potluck tonight and then somebody bought the drinks, you don't really need to know
No.
that.
That's what I just said. I don't think it's,
No,
you need it.
no.
So take out 8.
AIDS gone.
So what was the deal on 7?
It's out.
Took it out.
Okay, we're just not having any of it, okay.
No, we took the social club,
All
we
of it.
just took that out.
No, we took out the
No.
whole 7.
We took out the whole paragraph.
So we took out 7 and 8.
And 6.
6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
Good. You get down to a page and a half.
Actually, with number 9, why would the club and group members set up? I mean, isn't that what the association does? Is that what-
No.
I think that this is,
Because the club has a party, they'd be responsible to.
To put
It's
the
like
tables
a-
and the chairs out and
We
everything?
do that.
this is more the decorations, like the ballroom dance had a party, was it last weekend or this weekend?
Yeah.
With the
I can see
balloons.
them cleaning up, but, just putting the tables out, they gotta pull the tables out?
No, we pull the tables out and all the chairs. This is talking about their actual decorations. So if they, like, I know Willis had made a huge.
Decoration.
And the
Well, the appurtenance is, what is an appurtenance? Bringing out the tables and chairs is an appurtenance, isn't it?
No.
That is not what this is referring to. This is referring to their own decorations and props.
Okay.
Number 10 just is in direct conflict with the regular guest policy, isn't it?
It would be.
Yeah. Same thing with the wall.
So 10 and 11 kind of seem like goodbye.
And 12.
They look like they were all part of the ballroom dance.
Yes.
All right.
If I was a single person and I had a girlfriend downtown, I'd just make her a resident of my house.
Yeah.
Get her all the fobs and things and everything, say she's a resident.
Even if you don't want to be, huh?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure the relationship is good.
Yeah. Can have a new resident every night.
We actually have a person in the social committee that did that.
Yeah.
All right, so 10, 11, and 12 are out?
And 13. 10 through 13.
Yeah. Goodbye.
So the
You
only
might
one,
say page 2 is out.
Yeah, basically.
except for 9. Yeah.
Well, the simpler we make it, the better.
Yeah, I agree. So then we need to look at this teams and price thing too, right?
Yes. So teams were a new creation, looking at trying to have a reciprocal agreement with other areas and teams from other areas.
I think this is, most of what you got in your teams could already become under the clubs and groups.
Well, yeah, if the board's trying to restrict guest access, people would just name themselves to be a team if they can't have
Yeah, if we're going to use the quarter system, then you really couldn't have a team that plays weekly with other.
Correct. So take out teams.
No, leave it in, because teams are,
I made up 3 sentences in a paragraph. May I read it to you? Resident interest groups may form teams to compete with other community teams, not being Four Seasons. Teams may invite non-resident teams to association facilities once per quarter, as long as all privileges are reciprocal. Resident teams are responsible for coordinating with the activities director for adhering to normal guest access procedures.
okay, except that I don't like the quarter.
So that means billiards can meet once a quarter.
They can compete with a team from outside the community once a quarter.
Which, since their whole playing is basically with other teams, so they could meet as a group once a quarter, unless it's just the ones that are the ones that play residents.
Well,
And then pickleball or tennis.
No. Let's take the billiards. If Sun Lakes has 4 different teams, and they are legitimately 4 teams, then that's 4 different times Sun Lakes teams could come in here, as long as they were different teams.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter.
So if we have, all I'm saying is, right now we have some billiards teams, right? And the billiards teams are meeting, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right now. So we can tell them, you can't play, figure out which one of those days you want to play per quarter, not 3 times a week. Because
So
we'll
they're
do.
having outside members in there, outside community.
Absolutely. So they'll have one team, they'll play Solera on Monday, or Sun Lakes on Wednesday, or, whatever on Friday. And one of the things that John was talking about, that I think he was referring to, regarding our African American clubs, is the fact that we have a women's black bid list group, and there aren't enough residents who know how to play bid list, and they invite other players from Sun Lakes and Solera who understand that game and who will come and play with them once a week. So then we wipe that one out, and then we also have Domino's, which is also an all-black group, and we don't have enough to fill their group table, so they invite on Fridays, Wednesdays and Fridays, folks who are domino players to play twice a week.
And I understand that,
Yeah.
these things have been established, but if we're gonna make a rule for everything across the board, we can't make 20 exceptions.
But that's what I'm saying, we have 86 groups, and they don't fit the same rule. So, we have to decide, do we want 86 groups?
I mean, why can't the pool group form groups and play against each other with members that live in this community?
Which would be great, but we have a lot of input.
Because there's a league. We
Or
have a league.
different
that
ways of
involves
playing.
Sun Lakes, Hemet, us.
Well, if we're allowing them to come in here, like 4 teams to come in here, wouldn't we be going to their
It's
places?
reciprocal.
and,
If Sun Lakes allows us to go there once a week, the reciprocal thing of that is that they should be allowed to come over here once a week. That's all we're talking about.
And while I understand that and see that, I think the more that we've talked about this today, as far as having a once per month or once per quarter, if you also then have teams, that's going to invite cheating for the once per month or once per quarter. Because as a group, if I'm the billiards group.
I just have difficulty with almost 4,000 people in here. We have to go across Island Springs to find someone else to play with
No,
us.
it's a league that we have joined.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so if you want to play in a league, go
I
ahead.
played league sports in high school.
Yeah.
And we found enough within our own high school to do stuff. There's 4,000 people living here. Anytime someone outside comes in, people here say, we have too many outsiders in here. And they're right. Because you've got, 10% turnover in each year here for the last 4 years. So that's 180 homes, that's 300 people coming in here each year. How do they get involved with all of our clubs and teams if we're tied up playing with people from outside the community? They don't.
I have to tell you, I have a neighbor that has said something to me more than once about he's lived here for almost 3 years and he's never been able to play pool once.
Yeah.
And he's approached me more than once about that. And I don't know what to tell him.
Well, we
you
do
know?
have 5 leagues, and the
But,
resident leagues.
his thing is he goes over there and he's never able to get in or he's never able to play.
All he has to do is look at the breeze, look at the schedule of what.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying,
No,
John. I'm just
no.
telling you what his
I understand.
perception is. And I'm not even, I don't even know that it's necessarily a true perception. I'm just saying he has that perception. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what.
I guarantee you that at 6 a.m. there's no one in playing pool. Swimming pool, yes, but not in the pool room.
So
we'll never pull in all the new people into our community if we don't have openings for these clubs and groups to play stuff.
But do we prevent then members of our association from joining?
That are established.
That are established from joining the league?
Yes, sir?
Well, why not?
But is there something holding new residents back from joining these clubs? It shouldn't be. They should, right now, if the club has 20 people, We can have 22 or 24. Why, what's holding anybody back that comes in new from going in and joining one of the clubs or groups that's there right now? They shouldn't be prevented from doing that.
They aren't.
Yeah, the clubs and groups are open to
Well,
all.
some of these
So it's not an
activities have a
issue.
set number of players, right?
No.
No.
Sure. Bridge has a set number of players, 4 people, right?
I don't play
Yeah,
cards.
bridge does, but you can have many,
Pool,
you can have 5 tables or 6 tables.
Pickleball,
Yeah, but
they all have set team numbers.
But most of them go on a rotation basis. They rotate. Like in pool, you know, you play the winner. It's a rotation thing. So you can have.
So you're always playing.
You're always playing.
And you're always playing, and she can't get in because
No,
I'm
she-
always playing.
no, she just joins the rotation. She gets to play. She joins the club and she joins the rotation.
Well, if there's enough people in the rotation, why do you have to go outside the community?
Because it's a league. It's a league.
Whoopee! How is being a league important to the HOA? There's 3,800 people who live here.
Well, it may not be important to everybody, but it's important to those people who play in the league.
Yeah, those little, small group of people, not to the 3,800 people
Well, the
who live
problem
here.
with that is that if we make an exception for one small group of people, then we have to make exceptions for others. So, I mean, if we're going to start making exceptions for lots of different ones, then we're back to square one.
Yeah, I would say to pull the teams. I can see if we're only allowing an outside person to come in once a quarter to a group event, all I have to say is that they're, well, it's not a group, it's not a team. It's how are we going to track if Joe from Sun Lakes is coming in under Team A from Sun Lakes, but then next week it's Team B from Sun Lakes, then next week it's too much too easy to abuse and to track. Just no teams.
But again, the enforcement procedure is a separate issue, and we can't design an enforcement procedure until we know what the standard is we have to enforce.
Yeah.
I've got an answer for your question, but I haven't reviewed it with you yet. To me, my role model is the tennis team. Our tennis group, whatever you call it, is a member of 7 communities. Each of them has a traveling team. So if they go out 7 times and they have guests, 7 different or 6 different guests, that's 13 weeks out of the quarter, they're covered. So that's the way I envision it. Now, if I'm missing something, fine. Oh, and it's only one day?
Yeah, here's the way I see it. If you have four tennis courts, and you can have, 8 players at a time on there, okay? If you go out and play somewhere else, on a reciprocal basis, you're in essence still here playing, because you've given up your spot on a swap. So you get to play every single week. But it doesn't look that way because you're only here half the time. But the other half the time, you're really here taking up spots because you've swapped with another group. So in essence, only 4 HOA members get to play in that time instead of 8. Because while you're gone, you've got those other 4 people from Sun Lakes or wherever taking up your place. So instead of 8 HOA players occupying that court, you only have 4. And that's where the unfairness comes in, because we don't have enough facilities for all the people here who want to play. So every time we do these reciprocal things on anything up less than a quarterly basis, we are getting more than our fair share of time on the facility.
So then we're saying that the tennis team should arrange a facility outside the community for their tournament, for their team play. I don't have any problems with that.
You know, if they want to have a tournament once a quarter, that's not a big deal. But if they start having it on a monthly basis, then it becomes.
But Lynn, if a club or a group has a set time from, let's say, from
10 to 11, let's say, huh?
Let's
Nobody
say-
wants to play from
No, no.
10 to 11,
Yeah,
right?
Let's just say 8 to 10, okay?
Okay.
And then those courts are open the rest of the day. What difference does it make what the club does between 8 and 10? What difference does it make? It's their time.
But let's say you have 10 clubs.
But they still, what I'm saying is they still have, you have 10 clubs who have a certain amount of time that's dedicated to those 10 clubs.
You run out of time.
What difference
So
does it,
now-
what difference
Look
does it
at
make?
pool tables, you run out of pool tables. You got 8-ball clubs, you got different types of poker. I mean, pool. You could be a member of 4 different pool clubs. And you're playing all day long. And yet someone else is not.
But you're
playing.
not, you're only playing from 8 to 10.
Unless it's open the rest of the time.
It's open.
Is it
But-
open the
but-
rest of the time?
But if you're a club and you have it from 8 to 10, what difference does it make what they're doing from 8 to 10? Because it's club time.
Well, if they become a club, if from 8 to 10, they become the tennis club, and you're saying it doesn't matter what they're doing. Well, if we're calling them a club now, then they can only have 2 guests per quarter. You can't, I mean, you can't call them a team and a club.
Yeah. If they're 100% residents, then it doesn't matter.
Which is gonna be confusing when we have names like tennis club, but they're really a team, then we'll change it to team.
If they're gonna be a team, we need to probably.
Or no teams because we don't wanna have competition.
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with them having competition, but not like all week long, every day, like.
Oh, no. This is only maybe once a week where they have, where they
Pool,
have.
it sounds like a pool have.
No, pool is only on Friday afternoon from 12,
Wednesday and
from
Friday.
12 to 2. Friday afternoon from 12 to 2. That's the only time anybody else comes over here. It's not every day. Every day it's just strictly for members. Pool is,
But aren't there enough people here that we don't need someone else to come in and play pool?
yeah.
We have
that's what-
we have 4 groups. We have 5 altogether. We have 4 that are only residents. We have 1 that does leagues.
But people like to compete against other groups. If I have, in
And
my high
4,000
school,
people, you can't find other groups?
but if I have a high school that has 4,000 students and I have a football team,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? We're gonna scrimmage every day? No, you're gonna play another school. So you want that competition, and I think that's what these people want. Our place has better pool players than your
The
place.
competition is only useful to the people on the team, which is a very small minority. We don't run around with Four Seasons sweatshirts and T-shirts and say, we got the best such and such team.
You could.
We have 15 teams here because we have one in Phase A, B, C, D, and E, and they compete against each other. That would make sense. But, with 4,000, we can do that. Because we don't have any team that requires more than 4 people.
But
We don't.
But on the other hand, since I'm sticking up for pool, but I'm just using it as an example. Every week there's two pool players.
Yeah.
They beat everybody every week.
Okay.
Okay?
Good on.
Huh?
Oh, I think they need to go on the
Sure.
microphone.
Well, what I said is, I'm just using pool as an example because I'm just using pool as an example.
Okay.
You have 2 pool players in our community that beat everybody.
Okay.
They have no competition at all.
Great. So is it up to us?
Yeah, but is it up
To
to us as an
provide them
HOA to
competition?
provide them competition?
Well, I think if we have members of the community who enjoy doing that, why do we take away the enjoyment out of doing that?
Well, then, then, John, if you say that, by the same token, why in my, I'm in the ladies' glitter group. Why can't I have a whole bunch of guests in it? I mean,
Yeah, well,
I mean, you're kind of, the problem is you can't give preferential treatment to just a handful.
well, I'm talking about.
And then, or
we're
else you
talking
have,
about-
or else you have a mutiny.
Well,
because
we're talking
people
about
are
a club,
upset.
we're talking about a club that's created a team, a traveling team that
So,
goes to other places.
They did it for themselves. They didn't do it for the HOA. They're not sponsoring the HOA. They're not doing anything for the HOA. They're just getting their own enjoyment out of their own activity.
Okay. So are you saying just drop the whole team thing here totally?
Well, you know, I can
what-
see,
what-
if the tennis players here, you want them to have an in-house competition, find out the best tennis team they have, and then once a quarter challenge another tennis team, or one-on-one, or even having a tournament.
I mean, we approved a
I could see
pickleball
them
tournament,
doing
right,
that.
today?
Yeah. What's Jolene?
I said we approved a pickleball tournament today, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, why can't they just set up a tournament once in a while and get it approved? Same way we approved the pickleball tournament today.
We can go that way, and we can get board approval for all of those tournaments, that's true. But a lot of the people, again, it's the enjoyment that the people have to be able to either stay in-house or occasionally get people or compete against people from the
And
outside.
occasionally comes once a quarter.
Well, to me, occasionally is once a quarter. Once a quarter, to me, shuts it down. Might as well have zero. You do once a quarter, it's...
You know, we have the Olympics every 4 years. People train for it for 4 years. But they don't have, you know, it's, I think it's too narrow a group.
If people are being impacted by this, by other people coming and competing or playing or whatever, then we have very good reason to stop them. We don't want the enjoyment of the people in our community impacted by people from the outside. And so the issue really is, how do we work it so that the people can be both protected from outsiders as well as utilize outsiders to enjoy themselves. And that's why I brought up the issue.
What we're doing.
Well, but that's why I brought up the issue about enforcement, because I don't see the difference in enforcement between whether you have 2 people or 1 person or 0. You still got to take the proper measures to make sure that people sign in properly, that they're watched properly, the whole 9 yards. That doesn't change whether...
That's true.
So that's why I felt the whole thing is tied together. And the enforcement policy, most people care, and all the comments that, not all, but most of the comments I've heard are people moaning, and rightfully so, that, hey, these people just walked in here, they don't belong here, they didn't sign in, they're wandering around all over the place, and that's the thing that has to be controlled, because no matter what else we do, if we don't control that, we're dead in the water. And if we do control that, I think we could be much more lax in letting people in as long as they're properly channeled so that they're not interfering with the community.
The enforcement policy could stand alone. If we had no clubs, no groups, no classes, we'd still need an enforcement policy for our HOA.
Sure.
So how we organize clubs, groups should be an independent action as opposed to how do we enforce our security and safety here.
I agree, because our enforcement policy goes further
We
than
probably
just clubs.
have more people who are residents here who violate our enforcement policy
Well,
than
that's
we do
true.
outsiders.
That's true.
You know, so let's let that be a standalone problem that we look at. Well, we can figure out how do we get clubs and groups playing together here in a way that's acceptable to the majority of the people.
And I guess my feeling is a lot of the people that have a problem, let's say, with 2 guests, has to do with how the guests come in, how the guests wander around, how the guests are controlled, and how those guests impact everything else that's going on.
There's a lot of misperceptions out there.
Sure.
And one misperception is that half the people will be outsiders if you go 2 to 2.
They could be.
No, the perception will be
Well,
that they are. And unfortunately, we're stuck with perceptions more often than we are with reality.
Agreed.
That's one way, but that might be too draconian.
Well, I agree.
Maybe if we go to 1, like John suggests, we can quell the uproar, and once people are satisfied that we've taken action and it looks reasonable, we've compromised, then I think it'll die down. But it won't die down until we do something.
And one is the current policy right now.
That's one.
One.
But we had some big
For
time.
For groups, clubs, and, yeah.
We had some big time violations,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
We
with
have.
certain groups
We have.
that created problems. And of course, getting the bill out and reducing the number of new people that are coming in here. So, oh, I've seen you before. You must be a regular visitor from outside. Oh, you live here. Why don't I see you? Well, I live way over there. Have you ever been over there? No, never been over there. I don't go outside Four Seasons Circle. That's part of the problem.
But see, this is off the subject, but another problem you have is that, 14 years ago, the association signed a contract with CAHO that if anybody comes through the models, they get to come down here and tour the facilities by themselves. And so, how do you...
Well, they can still come in and front gate and say, I'm here to look at the house.
Look at the models, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this has to be restructured after CAHO was out of here.
Yeah, that's why I think our
I would,
enforcement policy
yeah, I would
doesn't
like-
make sense until we're,
I would like to have the safety committee start creating a policy for security. I mean, I think we should direct them to do that.
I don't think it should be the safety committee, it
Why?
starts here.
yeah, I agree.
But the six of us, we are the de facto rules and regulations committee.
Yeah, but we use our committees for to help us with these
Yeah.
issues.
But we have to give them guidance.
Yeah, exactly, we have to give guidance. I'm saying
We've
give them
all,
guidance,
we've
but
all worked in environments where there was controlled access. We know how it works or how it should work. The six of us should start the ball rolling.
And we can start with how much you're willing to pay.
exactly. That's how much each resident is going to be willing to pay for the security. I mean, we just did a $9 raise and we got,
Yeah,
hundreds of complaints about why'd you raise it $9? So we got to look at
there's some kind of
the
balance
financial impact on each home as we start deciding what kind of safety we're going to have in this community.
Okay, what are we doing about teams and classes here?
Well, as I get it,
Or we'll be here till midnight.
we eliminate that whole section and we just say that we'll
Teams, eliminate the whole team section,
yeah.
and then we're also going to
And then if there's a cry for tournaments, or they come back and we do what we did for the pickleball today, you get a special permission.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
Teams are out.
and so we're also going to take the classes here and make that part of the groups.
No, classes.
Classes are the paid vendor that teaches
Yes.
the class, right?
Well, not all of them.
Aren't they?
No,
I thought
not
they
all,
were.
not all the classes are paid vendors, are they? No.
Well, some of the classes are actually run by residents and they're not paid.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. So they're not all paid vendors.
Okay.
So this would leave it as the current guidelines stand, the classes must be for residents only, and must be.
Cindy, did you get the memo about serving wine at 4 o'clock?
No, but I'd be happy to go get some. In fact, anything stronger is fine too.
I think Len is saying we'd like to conclude by 4 o'clock.
Well, this is the last part of
This is
the
the last
clubs
part
and
of it
groups
right
thing.
here.
And clubs are working fine. Is there any reason to change the clubs, or the classes? Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to understand, why is it that we do not have a resident as a paid instructor? So in other words, if we have somebody in here that's got like the capability or the knowledge, they're not allowed to?
Honestly, I'll tell you where it came from.
Yeah,
I
please.
actually don't have a problem with it at this point, depending on what happened several years ago is social committee hired a resident vendor DJ. And he refused to take direction from social committee after he was paid and hired because he said, I pay homeowner dues and I'm gonna tell you where I'm gonna set up and what I'm gonna do.
Okay, that makes
Because
sense.
it's just as much my facility as it is yours.
Sounds better.
So at that point, it went in. However, since that period of time, it is something to question because we have some actual great residents who are considerate and courteous and want to partner with a group. And if they're willing to meet the prerequisites for a vendor, like having insurance, putting 2 additional insured to protect for liability, the association and the management company, then there may be a reason to go ahead and allow that in certain circumstances.
I was just curious.
It wouldn't preclude them from being a volunteer instructor. They could still.
But we're talking pay.
Correct,
It
yes.
says they can't be paid, I was just curious what.
But
How do they pay the instructor?
Individually, 1-to-1. So it doesn't come through us at all.
So we don't even know if they do.
What?
So
We wouldn't even know if they were doing it.
We do know because they do let us know. I mean, especially like the company that is hired with board approval, which is for the health of it,
Yeah.
which is our, right, our health, physical activity classes.
But if they
And-
wanted to, they wouldn't have to tell us.
Correct.
Well, on the new rules, let's just leave
Well,
it
it
out.
depends on what rules we go with, right?
Let's just leave it out on the new
Because
rules.
currently-
On the new rules, let's just leave it
Yeah.
out.
Take out, must not have a resident as a paid instructor.
Yeah, take it
that
out.
Is there a state law about a HOA contracting with resident members for any services?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Any other changes or additions to the club group class guidelines?
So what's next?
You are all in favor to send it out as modified
You can send us all an email
with the changes? Yes.
yeah,
And then we'll get it out next week.
and then barring any unforeseen action on our part, it'll go out to the homeowners
Yes.
tomorrow,
Monday.
Tuesday.
Monday.
I can get out Monday via email and post it, and that would satisfy the 28-day requirement, and then mail it afterward.
Okay, sure. Let's do it that way.
Perfect.
When do we do the enforcement? We're gonna have to go through this with enforcement as well?
Yes, we are.
Send it out?
Well, why don't we do the same process? It's been so much fun.
Do we have written enforcement procedures now?
Well, I mean, everybody must sign in, and we're getting quite a bit of pushback because if you come in and then you leave to go out to your car, when you come back in, we're requiring that you sign or fob back in.
Let me rephrase my question. Does the community, either you or the HOA, have written enforcement procedures? Generic question.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you send those to me? I'll take the first crack at them.
Written enforcement procedures on what?
Guest access.
Okay.
Well, I
Well, that's
shouldn't
just-
shouldn't our enforcement thing be on all enforcement? Not just,
Yeah.
not just access to clubs and groups, access to the community, period.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's, I'm thinking big time. I'd like to see whatever you've got in writing, and then I'll take a crack at them and send them out to all of you.
But can you send it to all of us, but let
Yes,
Ed take a crack at it, but I'd like to see it too.
of course.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, I need a vote to send this out as modified.
Oh.
Everybody change things. There's a motion and a
To
second.
send out the revised rules.
I make a motion.
To us.
Moved and seconded to send out the revised rules.
Who?
John and Joe.
Joe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I have a motion to adjourn.
Make
So
a motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor? See, did it before 4 o'clock. How about that? Thank you all for staying. You have